Are you looking to get on the road to your dream career? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Mentor Select Podcast with your host, Derek Phillips. Always stay up to date on social media at Mentor Select and online at mentorselect.com. Here's your host of the Mentor Select Podcast, Derek Phillips.
Welcome back to the Mentor Select Podcast. This is episode 27. As always, it's a pleasure and honor to be your host. I greatly appreciate all of you who support the Mentor Select Podcast by subscribing, sharing, and just telling all of your friends and family who you feel that can benefit from virtual mentorship that our mentors are offering every week by volunteering their time to share with you just life guidance, career tips, and just really opening up about their journey, the pitfalls, and just how they came to achieve the level of success and fulfillment that they have in their career. It is really incredible to hear their stories, and I hope you all are benefiting and enjoying them. To give you all a pregnancy update, my wife is officially 19 weeks now with our baby girl Legacy. So it's very exciting. Nothing lights a fire under your butt more than knowing you have a baby on the way as an entrepreneur. So I know I have to hustle every day to get ready to become a father. Also, I'm still training for my marathon. I'm going to do the Cowtown Marathon next month. It's going to be in Fort Worth, Texas. It's going to be a full 26.2 miles. Certainly looking forward to it and looking forward to get it over with. That's a big goal that I set in anticipation of becoming a father. I just wanted to accomplish something that was going to be mentally and physically tough. And I decided a marathon definitely would check both of those boxes. So wish me luck on that marathon. I'll certainly keep you all posted on the status, but I'm getting across that finish line one way or another. Today, we have a phenomenal guest mentor, Collete Portis. She is an entrepreneur, a coach, a mentor, a philanthropist, board member, you name it. She has a very long resume, and she's just impacting so many lives around the world. So I'm truly excited to share with you her interview. You certainly want to get comfortable, get out a pen and paper and take notes, because she's going to give you a lot of great tips and guidance that you can use to just excel in life and business. So I won't keep you waiting any longer. Today we have Collete on the Mentor Select Podcast. Welcome, Collete.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I am amazing as always. How can you not be amazing when you get to do what you love every day?
Wow, that's great. So I'm certainly looking forward to talking more about that. And yeah, every time I get to hang out with you, you're always in good spirits and happy. So you're doing something right, apparently.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So Collete, here on the Mentor Select Podcast, we like to get to know our guest mentors a little better. So would you tell us something that most people don't know about you?
Well, what most people probably don't know about me is I really enjoy time by myself. Like, I really enjoy just hanging out with me. Most often when you see me, I'm probably with somebody else, because I'm always taking others with me. Of course, if you're a really good mentor, that's what you do. You don't typically, go have an experience by yourself, especially if somebody can learn from it. But right. I have a good time with me by myself.
So you enjoy your own company.
I do. I can go to a movie. I can have dinner with me. I am just fine. I'm just fine with that. Now, do I enjoy, doing those things with other people? Absolutely. But if that means that I'm doing it by myself, I am just as good. And I promise you, I'm going to have a good time. I don't go in and I have a good time. So
that's certainly a luxury, not to have to depend on other people to have a good time.
Absolutely.
Even though I'm married, I enjoy going out to lunch by myself, movies sometimes by myself. If my wife's at work.
Absolutely.
I can relate. That's great. Well, Collete, here at Mentor Select, we encourage our listeners to really follow their passions, because we feel that that's the roadmap to their dream career. Can you tell us how you're following your passions?
Sure. So my story is a little crazy. We
like crazy.
I started doing graphic design when I was 12 years old. I actually I didn't really get permission to go to this computer camp during spring break. My parents still don't know to this day that I went. I guess one day maybe I'll tell them. But at that time, it was, the old computer and the floppy disk, and you didn't have a mouse on a computer at that time, and you certainly didn't have internet. But they taught me how to take the green letters and numbers and create a man and make him walk from the left to the right side of the screen. And it blew my mind. I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. So from that point on, and I was always pretty artsy. So from that point on, I continued on the art side of things because there really wasn't a whole lot you could do with a computer. They didn't even have pictures on computers at that point.
All right.
But I still practiced what I learned when I was 12 years old, and I drew and all of that kind of stuff. I was in like shop, which was, metal shop and building bird houses and all kinds of stuff. So I've always been pretty crafty.
Okay.
And so that kind of led me to creating logos and websites and stuff like that for churches. And I worked for the federal government. I created a website for the federal government just because I asked and they said yes. And I did it. And now I think, like, where was my supervision? They just let me do whatever I wanted.
No, there was no child labor laws back then, huh?
Well, no, I started working for the federal government at 14 until I was 21. So they were actually paying me, but I was just sitting there doing my homework. And, 30 minutes into it, I was done with homework. And I'm like, look, I got to find something to do. So I would just go create my own projects. And one of them was building a website for the department that I was in. And so I did that and ended up creating things for weddings, gifts and stuff like that, and parties, and just using my gift any way that I could. And then I heard the call from God saying, just go ahead and make it a business. And I'm like, you're tripping. I'm probably not going to do that. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to stop doing it, period, and go do some other stuff because that scares me.
You're being rebellious.
I was. And for 15 years, I did very, very little. Only for those who knew me, who knew that I could, and who had begged me for months on end and wouldn't stop what I designed for them. So I built a couple of websites. I would still draw and stuff like that and create my own pictures and stuff like that for my home decor. But I was like, I'm not doing that. I know that, like, that must not have been for me. You must have been talking to someone else. So after that, I earned 5 degrees, including my master.
Wow.
I know, right? Crazy. And once I did that, I was like, all right, I'm about to go kill the game. I'm about to go get the most amazing job in the world, and nothing. I was like, okay, wait, this isn't how this is supposed to work. You get a master's with a 4.2 and you're like, everybody wants me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that didn't happen. So I finally submitted. After 15 years, I finally said, okay, I'm going to do it. That was only after every single door was closed. And I did. And the day that I decided to do it, I got 7 clients, and I hadn't even told anybody that I had decided to do this. These were just random phone calls and emails saying, Collette, will you do this for me? And
wow.
So I was just like, okay, I get it. You win. So I started. I built my website for my design company that day, and my business cards and did all of that. And I've been doing that for 5.5 years. But about a year into it, people started asking for my portfolio. And I was like, well, I don't have one, because I would typically design for small businesses or churches. And so if they shut down, so did my work disappeared. And so
Okay.
now I'm going to have this come to Jesus meeting, and I'm saying, okay, God, how do I make this live? And he's like, you know what to do. You've been doing it, since you were 14. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Clearly, me not listening again. So I literally go to sleep and have a dream about how I have grown businesses starting at 14 with the federal government, uh, all of my life pretty much. And I was just like, man, okay, well, I guess I can do it. Me in my typical style, I got a pen, a piece of paper and a pencil because I like to erase. I started writing, and the consulting and coaching side of my business began at that point. And so that's the beginning of Collete Portis and Co., which is the coaching and the strategizing side of my the business. So that is my start. That's how I got here. And I get to do all of the stuff that I love every day. And I get to help others do what they love and follow their passion and listen to the call on their life too. And so how can you not smile when you get to do that?
That is incredible. Yeah, you're right. It is a crazy story.
Right. I'm like,
Wow.
where were the grown people? There were no grown, well, there had to be some of them around, but nobody was monitoring my behavior.
They trusted you were doing the right thing.
Well, what's funny is now when I think about it, I would train reservists and colonels and all of that stuff at 14 and 15 years old. But the reason for that was, I know, right? The reason for that was that's Microsoft Office had just become a really big thing. But in school, for us, it wasn't a really big thing. And I was taking a computer class. So I knew it very well. And they really didn't. And so I would be assisting in the class and not really, just checking everybody in and stuff like that. And my supervisor or one of my supervisors would be teaching, and I would be sitting over there, and they would be watching my face because I had no way of controlling it. And I'm looking like, that's not right. And sometimes I would go, you probably shouldn't do that. And so finally, my supervisor was like, Collete, what did you say? And so I told him, I said, here's a quicker way to do that. If you guys are in combat or you're out in the field or you can't take the long way. You don't have time. That could get you shot or something or get somebody else shot. So here's the way to do it. 3 keys, done. And they were like, what? Yes. So after a while, they were like, okay, well then you, Collete, what do you have to say? And I would say more and more. And after a while, I'd be the one teaching the class at 15 years old.
Wow, that is impressive. I know many teenagers who were working for the federal government, especially that young.
I know, and taking over and changing the way things are done. I would just go in there and make changes that I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to go in there and make changes, but I did.
Wow.
So good thing I didn't get in trouble.
So have you always had that, I guess, that confidence and just that being able to grasp things quickly and just pretty much just take off with it?
So my level of intelligence has always been high. I can always pick up on things. The way my brain works is I see something, my brain takes it apart and puts it back together so I can see where it needs to be tweaked and stuff like that. Confidence? No. I didn't get that until I was about 13 years old, after a come to Jesus meeting with my aunt, who had enough of me not displaying confidence and not being aware of who I am.
Right.
And after that, it was a challenge for me. It was new for me to walk in confidence. And then there was another friend of mine who just poured into me the way that I had never had a male pour into me. And he was I think he was probably about 4 or 5 years older than I was. But just completely believed in who I was and could see the me that I couldn't see in myself. And so I was really, really quiet and docile, and I was literally a pushover, and I had no level of confidence at all. And somehow God worked it out where he placed these people in my life. My sixth grade teacher, Mr. Elliott, my upward bound counselor, Mr. Reese, who I still have I'm still in communication with to this day. My sixth grade teacher actually taught my son. So I still communicate
Full circle.
with him. Yes. So that's what changed it for me, is they expected so much, and my grandmother and my grandfather expected so much from me. And I had three boy cousins who thought they were my dads, and I would always tell them that they weren't, but it meant absolutely nothing to them. But just the expectation from my family and those that God placed in my life for me, they would not allow me to perform at a level lower than what they knew that I could perform at. It was never going to be acceptable. And if I ever tried, or, because, sometimes you're good as someone else's great. And so people are fine with you performing at that level. They would never let me perform at that level. They would only let me perform at my level of greatness.
Wow.
And so I am so extremely grateful for that, because I had so many people that were examples and set these expectations for me. And in a lot of cases, they didn't even have the expectations for themselves. But God made a way for me to have examples to look at. And so I did. And I had opportunities that were given to me that I otherwise would not have had because of that. So I was very, very, very fortunate. I got to meet, the president, and because the colonel loved me because I hung up on him one day. Right. But he called and he was being mean, and I thought he was having a bad day. So I just told him, hey, call us back when you're having a good day. And so he called back, and of course, it's the colonel. My boss is freaking out. And the colonel was like, put her back on the phone. Of course, he's not saying it that way. He is yelling at the top of his lungs. And my supervisor is doing his absolute best not to put me back on the phone. I'm 16 at this point. And so he puts me back on the phone. And the colonel says, you have some balls. And I said, well, the last time I checked, I didn't have any of those. And so he cracks up laughing. And he says, young lady, what is your name? And so I tell him what my name is. And he was like, I like you. And so I was his best friend after that. And every time he would come to the center to visit, he would always come find me. So it was great. It ended up being great.
Cool. So let's go back to, let's say, what would you say to, I know you said 13 is when you first really got that, started having that influence from your family and friends and really helped instill that confidence in you. What would you say to someone in that same age range who don't have those positive influences, who are struggling with confidence?
I would do the same thing to them that my aunt did to me. It wasn't necessarily what she said. It's what she did. She wasn't the type of person who had a whole lot to say to you. But she had a whole lot for you to do. Which I think made all the difference in the world. And one of the things, I'll never forget this. I would ask to wear her clothes because she always had the best clothes. It's the reason I am the way that I am now. And I asked to wear this outfit that I thought was so cute. And she said, yes, finally. And so my friends come to pick me up for school. And they're like, ew, what do you have on? So I decide I'm going back in the house and I'm changing clothes because they don't like it. When I tell you that my aunt said, you will not change your clothes and you will wear that to school, oh my God. I was in tears the whole way to school because she would not allow me to be influenced by peer pressure. And from that moment on, I was never, from that day forward, I was never influenced by peer pressure again. I was just like, I don't really care what you think about it.
Right.
And so she would do that. She knew that I was really, I was an artist. She knew there was art, that art was in me. And so she would have me draw different things, and she would have me, take different objects and put them together, and we would have conversation about how I would do something differently. And because at this point I was living with my aunt. And so we'd lay in the bed at night and we'd have these conversations about, what I would do differently, or if I could put things together, or, it was just, she really, I didn't realize it at that point in time, but she really cultivated the gift in me. She really did. She made me critically think about things. She made me keep art at the forefront of everything that I did. She would buy me things like the little kits to put bracelets together and a color by numbers, but not the easy ones. Nothing would ever be easy. So she would do all of that kind of stuff. If we were going shopping, I'd have to put outfits together. And if they weren't good, she'd tell me they weren't good, try again. So she just really used life as a way to nurture who I am and who I am today, and what she knew was in me. So I would do the same, and I have done the same. I do that with adults and children, because oftentimes we miss that, and we don't really know why we're here, what we're doing, where we're going. And I always bring them right back to, what is it that you love? I ask all the time, what is it that you love? What is it that you can do for 3 days straight? You don't have to eat, you don't have to drink, you don't have to sleep. You could just do this locked in a room 3 days straight, and you're going to be satisfied with what you did. Mm-hmm. That is what you should be doing with your life. That is what you should do every day, or some form of that, and then taking it out of the general context in which we think about it. For instance, if they say, I love doing hair. Okay, well, what can you do? How can you influence that industry? Maybe it's not necessarily that you style hair on clients, but maybe you're really great at making wigs and you can style those, and you're really good at picking out the right kind of hair or something like that. How do you influence that industry? So that is what I would do with a 13-year-old or a 30-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how you put that into perspective, because even certainly adults struggle with confidence. And like I said, I really didn't get my source of confidence until I was in my early 20s. Right. You're ahead of the game at 13. Set you up for success, certainly.
She did.
So you mentioned your consulting and coaching side of your business. Who do you coach?
So I coach business owners. Typically, my clients have been in business for 5 years or more. Okay. And the reason why that's so is, when you first get into business, like, I'm doing this thing, I got it. One man band, I can take over the world by myself. Right. So at that point, they don't really realize that they need me. And so one of my philosophies is that in the world of business, there's only stairs, there's no elevator. And everybody has to take the same set of stairs. It doesn't matter how much money you come into the game with, you still have to take the stairs. Now, your money may allow you to jump 3 or 4 stairs at a time, where someone else can only go 1 step at a time. But you still have to take the stairs nonetheless. And so when you're at the beginning of starting your business, typically you haven't even really realized that you're taking the stairs, or you're on the first level. And so you're like, I can do this. It's just like your 3-year-old who now wants to be independent. And so they don't want you to hold their hand when they're going up the first flight of stairs. But when they get to that 3rd flight of stairs, they're like, okay, you don't need to pick me up. I don't know how many more of these we have to go, but I need you to pick me up. And it's the same in business. I liken business to raising a kid. So, the first 5 years, it needs a lot of nurturing, and you're going to typically be doing a lot of that yourself. But after about that 5-year mark, you realize you need the village to help you raise this kid, because the first 5 years has taught you that there is no manual for how to raise this kid. And so you need the wisdom and the knowledge of other people around you to get that done. And business is no different. So at that about that 5-year mark, business owners go, okay, I need somebody else to help expand this and move me forward and help me to be more accountable for what I'm doing and what I'm doing with my time, and to really define what I'm doing so that I can get to the next level. So typically my business owners have been in the business for 5 years or more, but I have business owners who have been in business for longer than I've been alive. So,
Wow.
so it runs the gamut. But it's always going to be somebody who is looking to grow their business, become sustainable in business, and leave a legacy. That's important for them to have that kind of mindset because of the way that I coach.
That's great. And it goes to show that even the ones that's been in business for longer than you've been alive, even they realize that they still can learn something from you and you can help their business grow.
Absolutely. And those business owners, I mean, as far as income is concerned, generated in their business could be anywhere from 60,000 to, 2.3 million. One of my clients that has been in business for 42 years. I mean, he's a multimillionaire. He has 4 businesses, but he still realizes that he needs the help. And he's smart too. And so I say to other businesses, if this is my client base, what does that say to you? You can make, you can make lots of money. It's possible. But at some point, you have to start to develop a team of people around you that can help you get to the next place.
Definitely. Yeah, that's true. So what do you find most rewarding about being an entrepreneur and coaching?
I get to know everybody's secrets. Everybody tells me their secret. And not only do they tell me their secret, I know when they're telling me their secret because their eyes light up and they sit up in the seat and their hands are moving and they're all animated. And I love that because there oftentimes are those that I might sit down with initially and they're telling me about, what they do, but there's just not that spark. And then they start talking about this other thing that they like. And then they light up. And I'm like, okay, why are you doing that thing instead of this thing that makes you light up? So I get an opportunity every day over and over and over again to hear the secret that people have and then to help them move that secret from being a secret to being general public knowledge and helping it to benefit the world is the goal.
Wow. Yeah, that's priceless. And I can relate with doing this podcast. I only interview people who love what they do. And like I say, just when they talk about it, they light up, they're excited. It's contagious.
Absolutely.
It makes it very enjoyable versus someone who it's just a job to them. Then that's not as exciting.
Right. I'm doing this because they made me do it.
Right.
And I'm not going to get any overtime for doing it either. So,
right. I'm just here for the check.
Right.
That's totally different. So you did, I know you mentioned that you have multiple degrees. Did you stop at your master's degree?
No. I'm like, who let me do this? So I'm finishing my doctorate, which is my 6th degree. I'm like, why did anybody let me get 6? I'm an overachiever, but I think that's taking it a little far. Why didn't anybody stop me? But I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. I read every day. I'm always listening to some sort of podcast or something that feeds me. I love learning. I'm an educator. My undergrad is in management and in graphic design and digital media. But my master's and my doctorate are both in education because I'm an educator. I have been my entire life. When we played school, when I was young, I was the teacher. I would sit down and create homework sheets for them. And I expected it to be done the right way. We would actually write on the wall, although that would get us in trouble because that was my chalkboard. And they were actually learning stuff. I was teaching real stuff. Whatever I learned in school that week, they were getting taught on Saturday morning.
Oh, wow.
Real. Yeah, my little sister would always quit because she thought that we're not playing anymore. Like, you've become, this is real now. I don't want to do it.
She didn't want extra school, huh?
Exactly. But in my mind, I was a real life school teacher and principal, and nobody could tell me different.
Cool. So a doctorate degree. That's going to be awesome. Looking forward to calling you Dr. Portis.
And just a couple to let me finish this dissertation, and then it's go time.
Cool. So you have your entrepreneur, you're working on your doctorates, and I've had the pleasure of meeting you through SCORE, which is an organization that provides mentors for entrepreneurs. You're doing a lot of things. How do you make time for all of that?
So my personal philosophy is be great at what you're great at, and whatever you're good at, go find somebody who's great at that and let them do it.
Okay.
So I stay in my lane. As a mentor for SCORE, I stay in my lane. I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. So I teach workshops, but I'm also a coach. So I mentor as well, but both of those are my lanes. I sit on the board for an organization called Children at Risk. And there I sit on the strategy team because I'm a strategist. So I stay in my lane. I'm a board member for the Fort Worth YMCA. And so I'm a connector. I'm always connecting people and bringing people together. And so I do that, and I fundraise because people like me, so they're willing to give me money.
Open up the checkbook.
Exactly. And talking about programming, which is, again, goes back to education and strategy and things like that. And so I do what I'm great at everywhere that at every opportunity that I can.
Okay.
And I make sure that, because people believe that if you're great at one thing, you're great at a lot of things. And so they'll ask you to do a lot of stuff. But I'm on purpose about letting people know that, yeah, I'm good at that, but I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably not going to do it. But here is a suggestion of someone else that I know is really great at that. I'm more than happy to make a connection so that you can partner with them so that they can get it.
The connector.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. So can you tell us more about the Children at Risk organization?
Yes, I love Children at Risk. So Children at Risk is an organization. It's a national organization. And what we do primarily is research the issues that impact the lives of kids in our country. And so whatever region that particular office services, we take the top 3 issues in that region and we move to make an impact on it. So the one that I sit on the board for is the North Texas office. And so those things that we have found that impact the lives of children most in North Texas is education. So we have programs where we go into the schools and we help to move schools from D-rated schools to B or A-rated schools. We help to pass legislation. We write legislation. We lobby for legislation. One of the things that we know for sure is the infant mortality rate is really high, and the rate of mothers who are impacted by illness or even death during or after pregnancy is really high in our area too. So one of the things that we're going to Austin or going to the Capitol to talk about is how do we extend the time frame in which a mother who just gave birth has medical coverage, has required medical coverage, because right now it's only 60 days after they give birth. But what research shows is postpartum depression typically shows up about 90 days after they've given birth. And so there's this whole 30 days before it even shows up, and now they have no medical coverage to even manage that situation. And so we're doing that. Human trafficking is another area that we're writing legislation on, that we have different programs on. And we take into the hospitals, we do public forums around human trafficking, all of that, and understanding the signs and asking just simple questions. For instance, we had a workshop where it was with healthcare providers. And the simple question at the beginning was, how many of you have had those cases where the patient had been impacted by human trafficking? And 3 people raised their hand. But halfway through the workshop, that question is asked again. But this time when that question is asked, they've been given information up till that point. Every hand in the room raised, because now they know how to identify, if a young if a young person or old person at this point, it doesn't really matter, has a small tattoo behind the ear or under the arm, that is a tag for human trafficking. So just small things like that general public wouldn't know. We're sharing with them, and we're telling the stories, and we're really making an impact, and we're impacting laws as it pertains to those who have been trafficked and what their criminal records look like and things like that. So as you can tell, I'm really excited about children at risk, but the work that we do is so important and so significant, and it really moves the needle. And we're one of the few agencies that actually does the research. So a lot of people and a lot of agencies go to our website to see what we found in our research.
Oh, that's incredible. And it's great to see, well, just to know that the work that you're doing is making an impact, and especially on children's lives. They're certainly the most vulnerable in our society, children and old people. So to be able to really be doing things, it's making a difference.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And typically, as it pertains to human trafficking, when we think children and teenagers. We don't think elderly.
Right.
We think, 30 to 40. We stop at children to teenagers, but really there are people in all age groups that are being trafficked. There's no age group that's left untouched. And so expanding knowledge and sharing information around that one topic is significant.
Yeah. And up until recently, I didn't realize how big of a problem that is in the United States. Something we think is not an issue, but yeah, that's a big problem.
Absolutely.
Glad to know we have people out there like you and Children at Risk organization helping to make a difference.
Yes.
That's cool. So your resume is getting longer and longer. Let's see. So you're an educator. Have you written any books?
I have. I wrote my first book, which I'm super excited about. It's called GOLI. So GOLI is an acronym that means Grafting Objectives Around Longevity and Entrepreneurship. So as a coach, what I've discovered is oftentimes we can make money in business, or I say business with quotation marks because we use that word loosely. What business actually means is you have an actual system that you can sell or pass down, or you can give to someone and allow your operations to continue. Well, oftentimes I run into those who don't have that. My 83-year-old client who's been in business for 42 years is one of those.
Okay.
And so we missed the foundation of starting to move to that place where we have a viable business. And oftentimes we're functioning, even for nonprofits, we're functioning, but we don't have the foundation of the business laid. What's your core values? What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your brief history? What are those things? Who's your target market? Just being able to communicate that in a way that people can understand what you do and get behind you and want to rally behind you and help you accomplish whatever it is that you set out to do. Now, oftentimes some of us know that we need to have a mission, vision, and things like that, but it doesn't clearly communicate. And so when we go into business, I'll give you an example. In the corporate world, you do a lot of connecting with the conscious mind of people.
Right.
Call and response on the most general, and it can be do this and then do this, and that's it. On the business side, as an owner and a founder, you have to work to respond to or to connect with the subconscious mind of people. And big business knows this. It's the reason why, the commercial has the burger and it's steaming and the music is playing in the background and all you hear is There's no words, but they're totally playing on your subconscious mind. It's like this. I don't think I've eaten Burger King. I can't even tell you the last time, but this 10 nuggets for $1 commercial is like, I'm like, no, don't get me. Don't get me.
Wear you down.
It's wearing me down. It's wearing me down. But it's like, that is playing to my subconscious mind because they show you the nuggets and then they show you dipping it in the sauce. That's your subconscious mind as opposed to the conscious mind of a person. And so if you keep touching that and keep touching that, people respond. Well, oftentimes we take the way we functioned in corporate America and move that to entrepreneurship and business ownership, which doesn't really work well. So you have to be able to impact someone's subconscious mind in order to get them to make a move, especially if they didn't already make a decision to come to you for whatever it is that you have to offer. If you're trying to solicit a client. So if your mission statement or your vision statement isn't clear about what you're really trying to set out and do, then nobody knows how to help you. They can't identify who it is that you could help so that they can make connections. And that responsibility is ours as business owners and entrepreneurs. That's my responsibility to do that. And so Collete helps them to really define the foundation of their business. And then how do you grow that? What does it even mean to grow that? What's the work? What work does it take to do that? Because if I bake cupcakes and that's my business, I know how to do that. But branding, marketing, social media, finance, I don't know those things.
Right.
So Collete will help to give you a working understanding of what those are, and then help you to devise an annual plan, an annual strategy, an annual strategic plan like Fortune 50, Fortune 100 companies do for your own business, and define that so you can go back to your business plan and make adjustments so it's a solid plan that's actually attainable. So I'm excited about that. The second version of the book, or not the second version, but the second half to that book is a tactical planner that you will track your progress every day, because without tracking and accountability, you don't know where you are from day to day. So we want to make sure you know where you are from day to day. So if nothing else, you don't just meet your goal, but the hope is that you exceed your goal. And that's been true in my life. And so I'm giving business owners the principles and tools that I've used to gain success, and not just in business, just in life in general.
That's great. And you and I are currently working through Collete, my copy of it. And what I really like about the book is once it's complete, like you said, I'll have that business strategy and can incorporate it with my business plan. So it's actually something that I can continue to reference and go back to and follow and help me track my growth versus other business books. You may learn one or two things, but it's nothing that you can just continually go back to and have that strategy, that game plan. So yeah, I'm excited about completing it.
Absolutely. And the other piece is making sure that this isn't a one-time thing. This is something you do every year. And the greatest piece, the greatest outcome of Collete, at least in my opinion, one is, yes, you get an opportunity to define your business, but the growth piece is the greatest result of it. Because now that you've defined what you're doing and what you need to do, now you can go find those partners and those people that can help you move it forward. And oftentimes, as business owners, our turnover rate for employees is really high. And oftentimes that we blame it on those that we hire. But I personally believe that nothing's 100% one person's fault. And so if we haven't clearly defined what their role is in our organization, if we haven't clearly defined what we need from them and what skills they need to have before we hire them, then we do them a disservice, as opposed to them being lazy or not wanting to. I think everybody gets excited about a new position, and has hopes and dreams to go and, do something really amazing. But if we aren't clear as to why we've connected that individual with our organization, then we fail them. And so Goalie gives you an opportunity to define in 12 different areas of your business what you need, what the business needs, and where you personally are either good at or not so good at. So it helps you to determine who you need to bring into your organization. And sometimes that means that you, as the founder or the CEO, have to step down into a lower position to bring someone else in who can grow your business. That doesn't happen that often, but that's a possibility.
Yeah. So I will certainly encourage any entrepreneur to pick up a copy. They'll certainly get some value from it.
Absolutely.
Collette, a common question I get from people, and I've encountered myself, is like once someone identifies what their passion is, but say, for instance, they're in a job where they're not passionate about, how do you, encourage people to make that transition? Or what's the best way for them to make that transition from doing something that they potentially hate to doing something that they actually love?
It is all about perspective, Darich. So one of the things, I have a friend, he's like a brother to me. And we were talking about, this is back, I used to be a diversity trainer. So I've used to be a whole lot of stuff.
You've done it all.
But we were having a conversation after one of our trainings. And he said, people often talk about, we shouldn't sit at the back of the bus. But he said, well, you have to understand what perspective gives you at the back of the bus. If you're at the front of the bus, you can only see what's in front of you. You don't necessarily have the perspective, or you can't really see what's going on behind you. But if you're at the back of the bus, your perspective is so much broader because you can see everything. Not only can you see where you're going, but you can see everybody that's going there with you. And you can see what milestones you're surpassing on your journey. And I thought, that is amazing. I didn't think about that.
I like it.
I typically don't sit at the back of the bus myself or the classroom or anything, but that was an amazing analogy. And so from that day forward, I've remembered that. And so when I encounter people who want to leave their jobs and they're not happy there, first things first, understand that is your training ground. There is something there that you are supposed to get. Do not leave that place until you get what you're supposed to get. And whatever it is that you're supposed to pick up is directly connected to your journey in business ownership. So use it. Look, see how the business is run. What are the processes? Start to write your processes and write down what you want to have in your business, what you don't want to have in your business. Pay attention to the culture. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Write those things down, because as a business owner, you get to make your own rules. And so you get to decide what you'll do and what you won't do. And initially, when you're sitting at that desk, you're going to write all of this stuff down. But Darich, like I know, when you become a business owner, there's some of those things that change, and you come to understand why that policy was what it was. So one, use your job as your training ground. 2, plan. Don't leave your job until you have 9 months of your expenses saved, and a strategic plan, not a business plan, a strategic plan. A business plan is a 30,000-foot view of what you want to do. A strategic plan is what I am going to do to get to the 30,000-foot view. So don't leave until you've strategized and you've figured out exactly what you want to be doing. Because oftentimes we'll leave our job and we'll go do, well, let me go try this and let me go try that and let me go try this. And you've tried everything for 6 months and you're at a job now that's worse than the one you had before.
Bad to worse.
Exactly. So I don't recommend doing that, but making sure that you have a plan and answering that question. What is it that you can do for 3 days straight? You don't have to eat, you don't have to drink, you don't have to sleep. And then cultivate that thing. Plan that thing. Save 9 months of expenses. Now, there are some of those like myself who have this burning desire, and you just like, I can take one more day in this chair, in this seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure then that you have some sort of plan. You know what you're going to do. Now, I took that leap, but I knew exactly what I was going to do because I knew I was supposed to do it 15 years before, and I had thought
Right.
about it for 15 years, and I knew that I could do it because I was good at it, and I had already been practicing. And so, what is it that people depend on you for? That's probably it. So making sure that you set yourself up, because it is a long, hard road. And at the beginning, profit is not always there, or money is not always there, and people aren't always there. And so you want to set yourself up. And outside of that, read, 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 read.
Yeah.
Read as much as you can about starting a business, about whatever area of business you want to go into. Read, listen to podcasts and things like that. I don't typically watch TV. That has been my life for 5.5 years. Somebody was going to give me an analogy yesterday, and I said, don't give it to me based on TV. They were going to use Power or something. I said, well, I've never watched that, so it's probably not going to be a good analogy. I'm not going to understand what you're talking about. Turn the TV off. Turn on YouTube University, and really evaluate if you have to go to college. Because a lot of times that becomes our barrier. I need to go get a degree in such and such.
Stall tactic.
Yes. You don't have to go get a degree in business to start a business. Trust me, you don't.
Yeah.
YouTube University will teach you anything you want to know. So start there before spending money. And then another misconception is you need to have money to make money. Not true. When I started my business, I had no money, but I had 7 clients that day. I started my website. I built my website, which I don't advise other people to do. That's just that's the skill that I have. But I built my website and designed my business card. I didn't have to have money to do those things. So you don't typically have to have money to get started. You just have to get started. And find a SCORE mentor if you don't know what to do. SCORE is all
certainly.
Yes.
That's a great resource. Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's phenomenal advice. Yeah, I certainly was taking notes on that one. That's good advice, certainly. So Collete, this has been an awesome interview, giving us a lot of great wisdom. So how can people get in contact with you if they wanted to?
They could reach me on on the website for my design company, which is Destined, DESTINEDD.com. Or you could reach me on Instagram at Collete Portis, on Facebook at Destined Design CP. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn under Collete Portis. So those are going to be the best ways. My preferred way of connecting is LinkedIn. Okay,
great. Awesome. I'll certainly add all those in the show notes. Well, it's been a lot of fun, Collete. We really appreciate it. We always value having quality mentorship.
Absolutely.
People like yourselves who love what they do. We look forward to having you back on the podcast sometime.
Well, thank you, Derek. I'm so excited about Mentor Select. You're doing great stuff. So keep it up.
Thank you. That was a remarkable interview with Collete Portis. Wow, she gave us a lot of great guidance, tips, insight, and just sharing her story. What a incredible journey that she has taken to become an entrepreneur, a coach, a mentor, a philanthropist. She does it all. Collete is a prime example that we all have 24 hours in the day. It just boils down to how we choose to utilize our time. And clearly, Collete utilizes her time wisely to impact the lives of her clients and just all the other people that she helped. And I'm certainly one of those people. She's been my SCORE mentor since I launched Mentor Select, and she's helped me come a very long way as an entrepreneur, and I'm always still learning from her. So I highly encourage you all to reach out to her. She mentioned LinkedIn is her preferred contact method, but certainly reach out to her. Let her know what resonated with you about this interview. Just if you have any questions about business, life, whatever, she's a great person to get to know. And also, I highly encourage you all to pick up her book, Goalie. It's on Amazon. I'll include it in the show notes. If you are serious about being an entrepreneur and basically walking in your purpose, then I will highly recommend that you pick up that book, Goalie, because it's going to give you the foundation that you're going to need to be a successful entrepreneur. Well, that's all I have for you this week. Tune in next week.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Mentor Select podcast, helping you identify and follow your passions. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit mentorselect.com and Mentor Select on social media. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review. We'll catch you next time.